Good morning. Oh my goodness. Y'all, I'm always excited to come to you with yet another episode. So, excuse me, I'm going to give you guys some time to come on in and make yourselves comfortable so we can have a discussion. Um, this is episode 2 of season 2 of Entertain the Thought, which is my podcast you can find on any platform, your streaming devices, and you can also go to my website, reeseroberts.com, to access the audio files or whatever. So anyway, you guys, I'm really excited because today is 2/20/2020, which is the reason why I think it's very significant to be giving you this episode today. The second episode of season 2. So what we're talking about today is, of all things, duality. On the day of twos, we're going to be talking about the concept of heaven and hell, okay? And what that means to a person who is here on earth, okay? Let me go ahead and start this. So again, this is season 2 of Entertain the Thought, episode 2. My name is Reese Roberts. And this episode is talking about duality. Like I said, we are human beings and we're dual natured, but there are some concepts about our duality that I feel need to be clarified in our understanding, especially if we are coming from a religion or a religious understanding of duality or of humanity. Scriptures say quite a bit about our dual nature, but they don't necessarily tell us how to practically understand how dual we actually are when it comes to our mentality. So, firstly, I want us to understand the concept of duality simply means that for every extreme, there is an opposite extreme, okay? And it means that we have the ability to experience not only both extremes, but everything in between those extremes. We have it available to us to be able to choose where we want to be on the sliding scale of extremes. And the beauty of this universe is that we have so many different extremes which we can experience. We don't have to be one dimensional, okay, in our duality. We can have dimensions however we choose to have them. And if you guys listen to my podcast and if you understand my approach, a lot of times I like to liken the human experience to a gaming experience, something like virtual reality, because that's essentially what we're doing. As we're choosing our dual experience, or as we're choosing where we fit on the scale of duality, the different scales of duality, we have the freedom, and many times we have the fun, or sometimes it's not so fun, for us to choose where we want to exist on those scales. So what I want to talk about today is the extremes that exist between our ideas of heaven and hell, okay? Heaven and hell are, firstly, let me just make the first point. Heaven and hell are simply states of mind. And I'm pretty sure that you can understand that conceptually, but understanding it practically is where I want us to be, okay? We need to be able to understand these things practically so that we can take control of them and actually employ the use of it in our everyday walk, in our everyday life. So when we are moving about this reality, moving through choosing our experience, what we're doing is basically defining ourselves. We're defining how we want to experience life, and we're defining what type of fun do we want to have. I mean, it depends on you. It depends on your natural inclinations, your natural desires, the things that you're naturally good at, the ambitions of your life. All those things come up to define who you are as a person. So something that struck a chord with me the other day, I was having a discussion with my sister-in-law, and we started talking about the duality of mortality and immortality. If you consider what immortality is, that's godhood, right? That's meaning that you're a god. If you're immortal, think about your superhero movies or your the ancient legends, the things talking about our ancient history. To be immortal means that you are a god, you don't die. Okay? And to be a mortal means that you could possibly be banished to hell. It means that you can die. It means that your soul, your energy no longer has the control of a god. That is so important for you to understand. If you are a god, that means you are in control. It means a lot of things if you are a god. Now, if we understand that, firstly, as a god, you have the ability to control your mind. And if heaven is a state of mind, that means you can choose to be in heaven. You can choose mentally to be in hell. It just depends on how you understand those things as a concept. So I wrote out something. I want you to hear it because this is my very practical definition of what heaven is and what hell is as a state of mind. So, heaven, the realization of the reality of oneself in a most pure form of pure energy that's connected to the human body by way of the brain or mental functionality, the magnetism of the heart, as well as the intuition of the gut. Now, if you know anything about human anatomy, you understand that we have 3 brains that are responsible for our human experience. We don't just use our heads to think thoughts. Thoughts come from several different sources within our being. And as we think those thoughts, that determines our reality, as you probably already know. So as you're thinking with your head, with your heart, and with your gut, meaning your intuition, that is where you are beginning to start the wheels of manifestation to turning. And that's where you begin to have a focus, which ultimately becomes your experience. Now, when we have these realizations, okay, when we realize, good morning, when we realize that we are using more than just our head to create a reality, there is something special about that. I'm going to read forward in my definition of what heaven is, okay? Be able to consciously create one's own reality, knowing the formulas, the codes, the patterns, and the trajectory of their own chosen path alignment. Okay, I'm going to break this down for you just a little bit. When you know who you are as a person, okay, you start to know the patterns of your life, the patterns of your thoughts. You start to understand what means alignment to you. If your soul is with something or against something, that is how you begin to triangulate who you are. You use your positive energy, how you absorb that. You use your negative energy, how you absorb that. And in the middle is something, it's like a navigational term, which is called triangulation. When you are using your likes and your dislikes, your positives and your negatives, all the dual nature of your being, you're able to triangulate an identity, who you are as a person, and how you're defining yourself in this reality, how you're experiencing this reality. Make sense? So you understand your patterns, you understand the things that I would consider a code, meaning your mental functions, the mental language that you use in order to think thoughts, which create reality. All right, y'all make sure you stay with me because this can be a little, okay? Real also being in a state of heaven, okay? This is a concept, it's a mental concept, it's not a physical place. This is a spiritual place, which means that it is a mental place. Anytime you're talking about your spirit, you're talking about the spirit of your mind. Make sure you don't lose that concept. Anytime you're talking about your spirit, you're talking about the state of mind that you're in. Okay? Realizing, okay, that your navigational course takes place to reach a destination or to reach that destination as heaven. It's also determined by your own chosen experiences. So as you're navigating, realize, okay, being in heaven is a big difference because it means that you realize where you are mentally. It means that you realize what you can do mentally. That is being in a state of heaven. If you are a God in human form, then you would realize your godly power in your mind and then take control of it so that you're able to create and co-create and collaborate with the universe so that you can create the experience. You are a creator, or what we'd like to call a co-creator. So understanding that you have the power to create with the things that you're equipped with in your human anatomy, okay? You have an anatomical brain. You have an anatomical heart. You have an anatomical instinct. It's built in. And so when you have that anatomy to be connected, now everybody on this planet is not anatomically connected to the spirit in the same way that we are, meaning they're not connected to their mind in the same way that we are. Our mental, spiritual connection, it's linked by our bodies, which means that we have the immortal and the mortal all joined together inside of one temple. We are in communion with God at all times because we have a mind at all times. We have access to our mind at all times. So when you really start to get that anatomically, I'm connected. I have a human body. I'm in this universe that is compatible with universal law, with natural law, which is the spirit world. Natural law, spiritual law, the universal, those are the spiritual world. So when a person is in a state of heaven, essentially what they've been able to achieve is a connection, okay, between the higher and the lower, the mind and the body, okay, the thought and the act. You have the ability to understand that you have literally the best of both worlds. I don't know if anybody has heard this before, but I've read in my studies that in the spirit world, there's sort of this desire to be human because we literally have the best of both worlds. In the spirit world, they cannot interact physically. And a person without a spirit cannot interact in the spirit world. There's two different worlds that are joined together once you realize that they are connected. Okay? Once you have the realization that you're connected to a power, and you realize that that power dwells within you anatomically, there is a physical connection to the spirit world. It's like if I was to pick up my phone and call somebody, I'm connected to them because I can literally pick up the phone and call them. Excuse me. And it's the same way with our physical man here in earth or here on earth and our spiritual control system or our spirit man, which is in our thoughts up here in our head, our crown chakra. So when we're able to become conscious of those things, become conscious of the relationship between the two, then it allows us to step into the fullness of our God-like ability to create, to manifest. But you have to realize it first. You must understand first who you are and what you can do. It's almost like a person who has a saw. They have the ability to cut down the whole forest, but they don't realize they have it, so they're trying to kick the trees over with their feet. And it's like, hold on, wait a minute. You have a saw. You have power. You can do this a lot more easily. You can manifest what you're trying to do a lot more easier. A lot more easy than if you were to just do it, trying to do it the man's way or trying to do it your physical way. So I want us to conceptualize the idea of heaven being a state of awareness where you realize that you have all the power you need to change your thoughts to create a reality that is suitable to you or create a reality that means alignment to you. It doesn't have to be some kind of abstract concept where you have to die first to get to heaven. If you choose in your mind that let's think about what the Bible says heaven is. It's love, it's peace, it's joy, it's compassion, it's patience, it is bliss. All these things that you could think about that describe heaven, you know, they can be conceptualized in your human form. Can you not have love in your human body? Can you not have peace in your human body? Can you not have joy in your human body? Can you not have compassion and balance and all these things in your human form? Yes, you can. And so the thing about it is we choose not to realize or recognize that we have access to our own peace, to our own joy, to our own rest. We don't have to die to rest in heaven. You don't have to die to rest there in that mentality, in that frame of mind. All you have to do is be conscious of it and realize that it's there for you to experience it if you choose to experience it. So I further wrote the definition of hell. So let me start going into that. In hell, becoming unconscious. Now I gotta talk to y'all because it's gonna be this is gonna be a developing topic. So make sure you stick around. Make sure you stick around because this is gonna develop into something that you're just gonna be like, oh my God. So becoming unconscious of one's ability to choose their own human experience. Now, when you don't realize, like many of us in our reality right now, we don't understand and realize that we don't have to exist under a set of predetermined rules for life. The only rules that we have to follow are universal laws, meaning gravity, meaning relativity, meaning the law of mentality, meaning the law of vibration or the law of magnetism. We have to follow those laws. Okay? Yes, we do. But we do not have to follow man-made predetermined laws like, for example, legislation. I'm going to tell you something. If we had to abide by legislation, we wouldn't have a need for jails, okay? We wouldn't have a need for prison. If laws meant anything at all to human experience or to human life in any capacity or at all, meaning your criminal laws or your civil laws, hear me when I'm talking to you. We wouldn't have any need for any prisons or anything if enforcement was required. Now, hear me what I'm saying. The only thing that a human being is required to follow is that which they believe in their mind by natural law that they have to follow. Well, I should say there's two things. You have to follow by natural laws. You're not excused from that. You also have to follow by the laws that you establish for yourself. When you believe that you must do something, when you believe, hear me, not because you're required, but when you believe that you're required, you believe that you are, then you are. When you believe it, that makes it real. So when we're in a state of hell, we lose all reality of the fact that we have the ability to choose. We don't have to subscribe to things that nature did not require for us to subscribe to. So if somebody tells me it's against the law to throw something on the ground, I can choose whether or not I want to be a part of that law or if I want to abide by it or not. Okay? But when I'm in hell, I think that I must. I believe that I must follow that law because they've given me all different kinds of reasons, all different types of rational thoughts and all this rationality saying to me that I need to make sure for all these different legal reasons that I'm not throwing things on the ground. All right. That's not something that human beings have to follow. So we have to make sure that we're aware of what we have requirement to be a part of and what we're not required humanly to be a part of. Okay. Furthermore, being in a state of hell mentally means being mentally stuck in the notion that life is predetermined and that it must operate in ways that are invasive to one's true and pure desires. So if I have a desire to live a certain way, but my mentality is making me believe that I cannot live in the way that I desire because of the things going on around me, because of the things conditioning my belief systems, then that thing becomes true to me. Then I'm living in hell at that point because I think that I can't choose. I think that I don't have the ability to walk outside of the precepts of the conditioning, the rules, so to speak. So because I feel like I have to walk in line, I think I do. Even though I could easily break free, I could easily move over here and be in my own lane. I could easily say what I want, regardless of who feels some kind of way. I could easily object to something if I want to object to it. But because I'm being so conditioned to be so docile in my thinking, I'm thinking that I have to follow, or else this is going to happen. That's going to happen. I get into this fear-based thinking where all of my objections are beat down by fear. All of my desire to object and say, no, this is what I feel in my soul. This is what will align me. This is what will make me feel better. This is what will put me into a state of passion or heaven. Okay? We feel like we cannot do that because of social conditioning. So, being in a state of hell, furthermore, allowing oneself to block, override, or suppress our natural humanity for the sake of conforming to an artificial standard, something that's not of nature, which basically just reiterates what I said. Thinking in ways that reinforce the idea that nature is not sufficient to sustain itself according to its original design of duality and control. Let me tell you something. You are meant to be in control. Society and your leaders and things like that will tell you that we need to have control socially, and we need to have all these rules socially because people don't have control. People need to be governed because we don't have control. Now, when you go about your everyday life, you don't need anybody to tell you to put your pants on, to go get your lunch, to go get a job. Well, some people do need to be told to go get a job. We're not going to go there. But we have most of our functions up to us. But then when you get into the higher realm of society, the higher realms of life, where you would normally be able to, let's say, for example, choose your own education. In my life, I've been able to determine how I educate myself because I just chose to do so. But society, does everybody operate that way? Because no, you're not going to educate yourself because society says, well, you may not get a job, or you need a degree because, there's this money attached to it, or you need somebody to tell you what to learn because they're smart and you're not. They know and you don't. So you get into this conformity where you say, okay, well, I'm going to go ahead and, because they say I need to be educated, I'm going to go ahead and get all this debt. I'm going to go ahead and rack up, everything that, they tell me I need in order to be educated so I can be successful. And I'm just using myself as an example because I have to. I decided, and this was not my thought at the time, but I decided in my life in general that I wanted to educate myself because I didn't understand at the time what I wanted to be in the first place. It didn't make sense to me to go into debt to commit myself to something that I was not fully committed to in my truth. Me being aligned with myself and being true and honest with myself, I knew that I was not in a place to say indefinitely that this is what I wanted to be doing. So I objected. I left school, and I decided not to follow after that pattern, but I switched over and went into my own lane, and I decided to study what I wanted to study. And over the years, that turned out to be things like sociology, things like business, things like human anatomy, things like consciousness and metaphysics and the esoteric or the occult. So I decided to cater to my own desire to learn. I decided to cater to my own desires, period. I was not listening to what society was telling me or what my parents were telling me or anything else. I decided that I would create my success off of following my heart. Okay, like I said earlier, I am anatomically aligned and connected to the power, the source which gives me power, the source which gives me power. Okay, so as I am moving forward in my experience, I'm telling myself what aligns me and what doesn't, what feels good with me and what doesn't. I'm not allowing the social cues or social trends to become my law or my belief. I believe I can be successful regardless of what I do as far as my form of education is concerned, as long as I'm educated. You understand? I never allowed myself to be sucked into this lower state of being where I'm living in hell, waking up every day doing something that I don't want to do, feeling like I don't have control over my life. How many times do we go to work and it feels like hell because we're not in control? When you have control, you have the ability to get up and walk out if you want it. But your mind is going to tell you, if I do that, then it's going to be this train effect. So living in hell is not just being in that lower state of thinking, but being stuck there. Because I tell people a lot, for example, using the work, if you go to work every day and you're in hell, you want to leave, for example. Instead of allowing yourself to remain stuck in that frame of mind because of the fear of what will happen after, what I've done in my life many times is I will get to a place where I'm addressing my fear first. That way I can make my move and I can regain my control. If I want to make a move from my personal power, my personal control, but I'm feeling hesitant or I'm feeling resistant to what I want to do to put myself back in a state of mental heaven where I feel more aligned with myself. I feel more aligned with where I'm going. I feel like I'm navigating myself to a specific place, which is my destiny. Okay? I'm headed somewhere. I'm not going where other people are telling me to go. I'm going where I say I'm going. I'm going where I say I'm going. So when I decided that I wanted to make the move, I had to mentally make the move first, because what are we doing? As above, so below. I have to address my mental capacity, my mental fears first. I have to go to my fears and say, look, you are putting in conflict with my destiny. So I have to talk to you. I have to get comfortable with you. I have to snuggle with you because you got me in hell. You got me feeling like I don't control my destiny. I don't control my actions. I don't control my thoughts because you exist. This fear. So when I go to talk to you, I'm looking at you like you are the hell that I'm experiencing, because you are. So I'm going to talk to you and I'm going to keep my enemies close and I'm going to sit down with my fear. Okay. I'm going to talk to this fear and figure out, what can I do according to my heavenly patterns, codes, the formulas that I've created in my life? How am I going to use those things from my mental capacity to eliminate the fear? Because like I said, when you are in heaven in your mind, you realize that this is all a game. It's just mental. It's just mental. All you're doing is figuring out in your mind, how can you mental switch so that fear doesn't exist? What did I have to do to myself to finally quit school, quit all my good jobs? Okay, I resigned from 2 good jobs, 3 really, resigned from them. Why? Because they were not aligned with my destiny. I was not afraid to say to this school, to say to this job, to say to this relationship, excuse me, you're not aligned. And I'm only here with you because I'm in fear of what may happen if I don't have you in my life. So I'm going to address the fear because I'm looking for what's on the other side of it. I'm looking for the heaven that's on the other side of fear. When I'm not any longer afraid of leaving the job, I leave the job. And what do? Because I was afraid of not having money, I addressed it. What did I do? I started a business. Because I realized if I didn't want to work on somebody else's dreams, somebody else's passions, somebody else's whatever, then I need to be able to sustain myself. I have to be able to do for myself what that thing was doing for me out of my fear. I was allowing the things, the school, the job, the relationship to provide something for me because I was afraid some kind of way that I would not be able to do that for myself. So when I start mental switching, I'm starting to pay attention to what makes Sharice go. What makes Sharice ambitious? What makes Sharice passionate? What does it take to start a successful business? Okay, now I'm addressing my fear. If I need to provide for myself, I don't want to work. What else can I do? Start a business, Sharice. Okay, well, what does it take to have a successful business? Because I'm making decent money on this job. Come on, fear. I can't let you get the best of me. So what we going to do about this money? Because I'm afraid that I won't have enough. We're going to start talking to this fear. Okay, let's start a successful business. What does it take to start a successful business? You need to be passionate about what you do. You need to love what you do. You need to be dedicated. You need to be disciplined. You need to read. You need to educate yourself. Find your niche. Find what it is that you will contribute to this planet, contribute to your family, contribute to yourself, and then find a way to serve people in that capacity. So what did I do to address the fear? I had to work on myself. I had to bring myself to a level where I felt comfortable in accepting that I no longer needed to hold on to the fear of not having a job. Hold on to the fear of not being married or not having a relationship or not having material things or not having blah, blah, blah. And once that fear became smaller because I put it into context of what my path is, I think highly of myself, okay? So when I'm in a place where I'm looking at where I'm going and then I turn around and look at my fear, we got a problem. When I look at fear as an impediment, I'm also looking at it like it's food, okay? Because if you're getting in my way and you're trying to stop me, I'm about to eat that ass up. Good, okay? I'm about to eat you because you can't stand in my way of my destiny now. I've been on this path for a long time. Been suffering on this thing for a long time. Been learning on this thing for a long time. So what happens is the fear must go. And whatever it is I have to put myself through mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, financially, whatever, I have to go through it. I have to learn through it because that's my growth, because that is my freedom. When I address that fear, running straight through it, afraid as hell, okay, mad as hell, hesitant, all kinds of things, all kind of resistance to the growth, I'm going to eat it up. Because I realize that my experience that I'm looking for is on the other side. When you go into a virtual reality game, you're doing it for the experience. When you go and they set the thing down over top of your eyes and you can't do nothing but see where what you're inside of, it becomes your experience. You're having a virtual experience, meaning that it's being controlled and dictated from another source. Because that's really not your reality. That's just what's over your eyes. That's really not your environment. That's just what's over your eyes. So if you're not looking at your fear like it's just your virtual reality game, it's just what's over your eyes, you have the ability to switch out this experience as you move along. You are an immortal being. You're pure energy. So when you call on the universe to magnetize an experience to you, this is how we're using our virtual controllers, the mind. You have all control. Your mind is your gaming controller. So when you call that magnetism through your heart, through your instinct, through your logic and your brain functions, you're telling the universe, I need you to bring up this experience for me to have because I'm trying to get on the other side. The virtual reality is just there to be your fear. The fear is what carries you over. Once you address the fear, get it out the way, then there is your experience. But you got to go through it first. Now, I'm not going to say too matter of factly that you must go through fear in order for you to get to the other side because that's a choice. You can choose to be afraid or not. But I'm going to tell you, whether you choose the fear or not, you need to choose to go through it afraid. You got to get through it regardless. So, well, lest you be stuck, lest you be living in hell. If you want to allow the fear to stop you instead of just going through it and just getting through into the other side, regardless if you're afraid or not, get through it. Because if you don't, then there is your experience that you're choosing not to have based on your choice. If you say you want to experience joy, but you are afraid to express yourself, Then you don't want to experience joy, because in order for you to experience joy, you must express yourself. So you can be afraid to express or afraid not to. That's on you. But joy is on the other side of that fear. Joy is on the other side of your expression. The universe don't care about your fear. The way it works is systematic. You're going to experience the joy after you've gone through the work to get there, which means expressing yourself. So if you can express yourself freely in whatever way you want to, fine, go ahead and have your joy. But if you don't, then you got something that you need to do. You have something that you need to work on and something that you need to address in that fear, so that you're clearing it out of your way and saying, okay, now I'm ready for my experience. Okay? So it's the same thing with your, let's just say, money problems. Okay? Having the mind frame where you're saying, I have to do this for money. I think that may be our biggest source of money problems, is convincing ourselves about what we're doing for the money. Because there are some things that we're afraid to do for money. We're afraid to discipline ourselves for money. We're afraid to let go of our jobs for money. Now, that sounds kind of weird. You gonna let go of your job for some money? Yeah, you really should. Because if you believe that you're worth $20 an hour, if you believe that you're worth $30 an hour, and that's all you're worth being paid, that's what you're going to get paid. Your belief is what makes it real. Okay, your belief is what makes it real. So now you look at somebody like me. I have to use myself for example. I can't use nobody else. I don't like the idea that I'm only worth $23 an hour or $33. I think I was making $33 an hour when I quit my job. I think I'm worth more than that. And so when I started realizing not only was I worth more than that, but what I was dealing with to get the $33, it wasn't. I was like, what? I don't like this. I was not into it. I was like, no. So what ended up happening is I started looking around like, if I'm worth more than $33 an hour, how am I going to get myself to a place where other people realize how much I'm worth every hour on the hour? You understand? Because if my job doesn't realize how much I'm worth and other people around me don't realize how much I'm worth, guess what that means? I got some work to do. I have to express to you how much I'm worth. I have to communicate to you how much I'm worth, because I believe that I have a value that's greater than what I am receiving. And because I know my value, I'm going to work to get there. I'm going to address every obstacle, every frame of mind, every physical condition, every thought that is standing in my way of being compensated according to my belief. I need to be compensated according to my belief of my worth, not yours. You could tell me that this job is only worth about so much, but I don't even believe that. Let me tell you what I was doing. I was working in compliance, doing accounts management with the Internal Revenue Service, okay? I was bringing in all kinds of payments. People paying thousands and thousands of dollars. I'm the person allowing that to happen for the federal government. Now, you mean tell me you only going to give me $33 an hour to do that? I need a commission or something, because the percentage is adding up. I know you got the bulk of this money in your pockets, because you try to act like you don't believe that the federal government is a privately owned, privately for-profit agency or business. They got that money in their pockets, and I'm the one bringing it in, and you're not going to cut me a piece of the pie? Deuces. I'm out of here. Because if I can do that for you, baby boy, I can do it for myself. And I'm going to work my ass off until I get to a place where other people recognize the value that I have added to myself. I'm going to read as many books as I need to read. I'm going to keep myself immersed in whatever I need to be immersed in. I'm going to go into whatever crowd I need to be in. I'm going to create whatever opportunity I need to create. I'm going to network. I'm going to talk. I'm going to create products and services. I'm going to educate people. I'm going to do whatever I got to do for you to see that I'm worth it. Because I know that I'm worth it, and I know that I can bring my value to the table. I know that I can show you what I'm worth. I know that I can demonstrate to you what you're going to pay me for. And so this is what I mean by our fear. This is what I mean by our fear. There is really nothing there. It's just what's over your eyes. This virtual reality is a game that you have all power, just like if you were on your Xbox or your PlayStation or whatever console you're on. You can switch out your outfits, you can switch out your background, you can switch out your weapons, you can switch out your partners, you can switch out your whole experience, whatever world you're in, you can switch all that out. You can switch it all out. And in this reality, this is a hyper virtual reality because we exist in it physically and mentally, okay, or spiritually. Mental and spiritual, same thing. Because we exist here physically, because we exist here mentally, this is what we're dealing with. Y'all, I got some more stuff I want to read to you. The reality, this is some stuff that I wrote. The reality of heaven and hell, truly having the experience of love. This is what it means. To truly, in your heart, not you putting wool over your eyes and telling you that you're happy, pulling wool over your eyes and saying that you have peace, but truly having peace, demonstrating it, truly demonstrating love, truly demonstrating power and abundance. You're telling yourself, I don't have a virtual, or I shouldn't say you're not telling yourself, but you are proving that there is no artificial environment that you're in, that your true state of mentality is one of peace, one of love, one of abundance, power, and every other gift that's promised to you by the Spirit. That's all written in the Bible. We have promises now. It's promised to us that if we seek after it, we'll find it. Okay? That if we ask, we'll have it. It'll be done unto us. That's a promise. So these things are promised. It all rests. It rests in the human body on earth. Okay? The peace. You can have peace in your human body on earth. If you have the idea of all these things conceptually, and then think about it, it can be in you. Love can be in your heart. Love can be in your mind. Love can be demonstrated by you. Compassion can be demonstrated by you. It can all be demonstrated by you because it can live in you. It rests in your human body on this earth. Our duality is what makes us capable of the experience itself. You can be, because you are a dual being, you can exist either place. Do you remember the story in the Bible where Jesus, before he was able to ascend into heaven, he first had to descend down into hell? I'm about to give you guys another layer of this heaven and hell thing. He descended into hell first because he's a dual being. And let me tell you something about this universe. We live in a reality that is cyclical in its nature, which means that it's circular. Okay, it's a circle pattern where whatever you throw out into that circle, it comes back around to you in graduating levels. Okay, your circle not only exists on one dimension, but you have several of them. That's what Abraham Hicks talks about is your vortex. On several different levels, you have this cyclical nature of your reality, where either you can look at it like it's going this way, or on some levels it goes like a wave, which is also similar to a circle pattern on, if you arrange it the right way. So we exist on these waves or these circles. They're the same. Where you up and down, in and out, back and forth. Okay, the duality of it. Let me read this. Lord have mercy, because I'm ready to start. It's going to come. It's going to come. I'm starting to get ahead of myself. It makes us capable. Okay, our duality, it makes us capable of our experience itself. We choose heaven over hell. We have already experienced a pinnacle of human existence. Okay? The pinnacle of human existence, if y'all know anything about history, came from our ancestors. We already existed heaven on earth thousands of years ago, when our ancestors were here communicating by telepathy, using sound waves or sound vibrations or what they call it, sound levitation. We've already existed in a perfection of pure energy without any tainting or conditioning. It was let me keep reading. Our ancestors took original human form and they existed as pure energy without the degradation of the integrity of their spirits. They were here in perfect form. Being perfect and pure in thought is what made them perfect and pure in physical existence. Because again, as above, so below. They were here first, so they did not have any tainting of their minds. They were perfect God in man form. So they were able to manifest a harmonious existence with themselves and the planet. They didn't have the problems back then that we have right now. Why? Because they were not tainted. They never descended. It's just like the story of Jesus. He was supposedly untainted. And but before he could get into heaven, the man had to go to hell first. So what happened? He chose to go to hell. He knew he didn't have to. He chose it because he knew that if he did not go to hell first, he wouldn't be appreciative of being in heaven. He would be heaven. I should say he would be consciously in heaven, but he would not be consciously aware that he was in heaven. Like, if you don't know what hell is, how can you ever appreciate heaven? Okay? Being perfect and pure in thought, they were able to manifest a harmonious existence with themselves and the planet. As humanity evolved, we began our journey into hell. We arrived in our place of hell with the creation and domination of the left brain dominant Caucasian. If you know anything about mentality or the physical brain, there's an anatomical structure to your human brain which causes your duality of thought and the pureness of your thought. The fact that you have a left hemisphere and you have a right hemisphere. They're both intricately involved in creating your reality. Now, in our purest form, our people were creating reality using both hemispheres. We were able to use both hemispheres of thought in order to approach our creation, in order to approach our standard for creation of thought, and so our creation of civilization and ourselves. So because we have this introduction of this inverted mentality, they focus on their left brain. They create out of the left brain dominantly. They don't balance between the left and the right. So when you look at westernized culture, what you're looking at is a state or a form of hell coming from the Caucasian's left dominant mentality. And like I said to you before, heaven and hell are states of mentality. And because we have lost a portion of our ability to create from the mind, meaning we lost our whole connection to our right brain hemisphere, we lost our ability to be able to create in this harmonious, balanced state of existence. Because we've been dominated by left brain people. So what you look at when you look outside your window is you look at a virtual reality game that was designed by somebody who did not have the full capacity to design the game. Did y'all catch it? When you look out your window, the way society works, the way you are conforming into the plan of social evolution, it's coming out of somebody who don't have their whole mind put together. So what does it mean for you? If you are clothed in your right mind, as the old spiritual saying goes, if you're clothed in your right mind where you have the ability to use your left and your right brain, what does that mean to you if you're living in a society that is only using half of your brain function? That means something ain't right. You have to stop being afraid to push against stuff that's not aligned with you. Because I can guarantee you in your black mind, you are way more full and whole and complete than what society is telling you that you are. You just have to believe it first. You have to be aware of it first. You need to be aware that you have the capacity to choose heaven. Choose the balance of your mind. Choose to use both of your left and your right hemispheres. Now I'm going to tell you, in case you don't know, your left brain is good for your logic. Your right brain is good for your abstract. Your left brain is good for your numbers. Your right brain is good for your colors in life. So what you're doing is you're marrying them together. So you don't just have the discipline, but you have the fun. So that you don't just have the structure, but you have the fluidity. You have the duality that gives you freedom to be. Freedom to just simply say, look, this is me. I'm triangulating who I am by using my likes and my dislikes, my fluidity, my up and my downs, my ins and my outs. I'm using these things to say who I am. I'm not going to be the same as you. I'm not going to be the same as you. I'm going to be me. And when I choose my heaven, I'm choosing the balance on those sliding scales of extremes. I'm not going to live on the extreme in my left brain, logical, determined, B, straight line thinking. I'm also going to marry into that my creativity. I can get from one place to another efficiently and creatively, fun, and with fun involved. And how am I going to do that? I'm going to use my creative mind. I'm going to use my right brain. You understand me? It doesn't mean that you have to be all emotional. But first of all, let me tell you something. Your right brain and the magnetism of your heart, if you feel like it's something wrong with you operating out of your emotions, you'll never get to a state of heaven. You'll never get to a state of mental heaven. You'll never be aware of your mental capacity to choose heaven if you neglect your humanity. Like I told you before, if you are a state of hell, okay, being mentally stuck in a place where you are blocking, overriding, or suppressing your natural humanity for the sake of conforming to an artificial environment, we can't do that any longer. We cannot tell ourselves that society is more right than we are. We cannot keep telling ourselves that my way of thinking is wrong because somebody else says I should be thinking like this. Excuse me, my heaven is in my mind. I'm creating this because I am an immortal God inside of a mortal body. And the only reason why I have a mortal body is so that you can hear and see and feel me. That's the only reason why I have this mortal body, because if I didn't have it, then my energy might dissipate and you may not ever get to feel me. You may not ever get to see my beauty. You may not ever be able to experience the iteration of my soul that comes from this higher power. Every one of us is a different iteration of that same higher power. If you never had a body, I can't look at how beautiful your iteration is. I can't look at how beautiful your art is. I can't look at how beautiful your talents are. I can't look at how beautiful your thoughts are if you don't ever get manifest into a body to where you can express that in your joy, in your fullness, in your happiness, in your capacity to choose heaven. Because you're choosing your thoughts. You're choosing your mental beliefs based on your mind, your logic, based on your heart and your intuition. These things are how you create your personal heaven. Y'all better understand what I'm trying to tell you. Their mentality, meaning the Caucasian, is an inversion of our pure mentality. Like I said, they use one part of the brain, we use both. Because we have been led into their way of thinking, we've also been led into their hell, because they've dominated our way of thinking into conforming it like theirs. Okay? And this is how prophecy was written so long ago, because like I said, we live on a pendulum. It goes up and it comes down. So it's very predictable. The only thing that is unpredictable about about our wave patterns is the speed of them. For sure, that pattern is going to go up and down. For sure, It's going to go up. You're going to have surely ups and downs in your life. Surely that's going to happen. And surely the evolution of man has ups and downs. It's the same exact nature, as above, so below. The evolution of man has ups and downs. And so when you look at that over the period of time that humanity has been here, then what you start to realize is that our duality meant that we had to experience hell because we had already been in heaven, okay? So we had to come down into the other extreme. And what I know about prophecy is that it knows that because we're down at this point, we're coming back up. That's the only place for us to go. We live in a dual-natured environment, a dual-natured reality. So as we were up in ancient days, now we're down in hell because, like I said, we've been led here mentally by someone who we now consider to be our enemy. Now, because we've been made aware that we are a part of something that we wish not to be a part of, and we're learning that we can choose not to be a part of it, we're learning, then I see in our future what prophecy says is that the tail will then become the head because it used to be the head before. And it's a cyclical nature. It comes back around. So if I was the head before, I'm going to return to my nature because that's the nature of this universe, of this reality. We can exist in harmony. Now, what's going to happen when we get back to the top again and we have to make another descent in the future centuries that are to come? Who knows? Who knows what's going to be our next dip? Hopefully it won't be the same as this. Hopefully it won't be the same as this bullshit. But whatever it will be, it will happen. But it happens because that is prophecy. That is why prophecy was created. Because it's there to let us know this is what's coming. You're going up and down, baby. You're on a roller coaster. You're going up and down. So when you get to a place of heaven, appreciate that thing because there is surely a hell for you to exist in. Okay? And if you don't remember it, guess what? It will come back around. It will come back around. Especially if you don't remember it. You know, we had to exist in this hell because what our enemies knew is that they would never lead us into hell if they had not stripped us from our memories of what it meant to be like in heaven. When we existed on a plane of perfection in our natural form, we didn't have any idea of what hell may even feel like. We'd never been there before. You would look at somebody like self-destruction. What you mean self-destruction? I'm a creator. Why would I destroy myself? But even in that, creation and destruction is a part of our nature. It's a part of our nature. We create, we destroy. Are we supposed to be destroying ourselves? Probably not. But we have the ability to destroy ourselves even if that's what we choose to do. The universe doesn't care. The universe only gave us the power to create and destroy. It never said, you can't destroy yourselves now. Oh, you have the power to create and destroy. Plain and simple. That's it. Ain't no other stipulations to it than that. You can create what you want to create and you can destroy whatever the hell you want to destroy, whether it be yourself or not. So why not choose to create a self that feels like heaven? Why not create a self instead of destroying yourself into a hell where you're physically just existing in a state of destruction? Who wants to do that? We're not going to go there. Our prophecy says we're coming back to the top. So what kind of heights are you going to limit yourself to, knowing that you on the way back up? Now, see, when I'm coming back up, I done been to the bottom of the bottom, okay? I done been to the bottom of the map. So when I come back up, baby, I'm shooting up. I'm going to the top of the top. And I want you to try to stop me. I'm going to the top where ain't nobody going to be able to reach me. You're going to be at the bottom of my damn feet. Okay. Instagram, I might be coming out right now in a couple of seconds. I might come back to you guys because I have a little bit more that I want to read to you. So let me just click off and I'm going to come right back and y'all come back too.